we're going to be drawing the top part of the pedestal table, similar to the bottom part, but different, same way in that it's a cross-halving joint, but just slightly shallower, just so we can fit the tabletop on top. So basically you can see this is what I've drawn already. So we need to draw, both pieces are very similar. So when I rotate these around and put them next to each other to show you, whoops, they're similar in a way that we have 45 degrees on each edge. So basically the shape, if you take this part and this part out, we have the same shape. So what we're going to actually do is draw this shape first, and then put in the details of this cutout so that this bit then fits on top of that bit. Right, so all my hard work, I'm going to delete there. So what we're going to do, I'll just open up a new window. It's all good. So we're going to go File, New from Template. If you've already started your drawing, obviously you just continue with your drawing. Should always be selecting woodworking millimeters. Now, there is something I want you to add to the toolbar at the top here. So if you go View, Tool Palettes, Customize Toolbar. View Customize Toolbar, click on that. And these are all these extra things you can put into the toolbar at the top here. One of the things I find handy is this standard views. Okay, and I'll show you in a sec, but you're just going to click and drag that into the top left hand corner here like that. Then you can press done. So you can see, just while we're here, you can see all these extra things you can be adding to your toolbar. So if you find along the way that you need to add certain things, you can do that. All right, press done. Now, the reason for that is because I want to draw the front shape. I'm just going to flick across the screen here. I want to be able to draw, we're going to start with this top brace detail, this bottom one here. Okay, so I want to be able to draw that shape. So when I flick across to SketchUp here, it's hard to orbit around, see, it's not great. So what we're going to actually do, when you use these panels up here, you can flick to a certain view. So for example, ISO is isometric view, like a 3D view. If I want to flick to the top, I can do that. So that's a bird's eye view. What we want to actually do is go to the front. Okay, now it doesn't change much there because I haven't drawn anything, so it's hard to tell, but believe me, I want to be drawing from the front. So this is like the vertical plane from the front view, and that means I'm going to be drawing this shape from the front view. Okay, so flicking across from this information, I'm going to draw something that's 150 millimeters long and 18 mil high. So I'm going to draw a rectangle, pick up the rectangle tool, come to the origin, I'm going to click once, I'm just going to draw a random rectangle that's similar to the size I want, and then just type in 150, 18. Enter. And you can see that's a pretty small rectangle. The trick here is you can press this zoom extents magnifying glass. If you do that, if you ever lose your project, sometimes you zoom out so far you go, where did I put my project? You can do the zoom extents and it brings whatever you've drawn into full screen. So it's cool. I'm just going to get my mouse pointer and just zoom out a little bit there. So that's the rectangle we want to work with. So that's the basis for this. Now we're just going to draw these details in basically. So here we have a 45 degree coming down both sides from the top. So we're going to put that detail in first. So the tool that we don't have is the protractor. The protractor being what we use to measure angles in maths. Hopefully you're aware of that. two ways of doing it. You can do what I did before by going View, Customize Toolbar, and here you can see the protractor. So because we're going to be using that, you can drag the protractor up into your toolbar. Press Done. So it's now there. We've added that. Or if you want to just have all your extra tools available, you can pick on Large Tool Set, and that brings up, you know, a big suite of tools that are just a bit more than what you've got as the default set up the top. So either or, I'm going to work with just dragging the protractor up into my toolbar because that is less clunky for me, but whatever you guys prefer. Now, to get a 45-degree angle, we want to bring it down. I'm going to do the left-hand side first. You're going to click on the very top. So that's kind of like the pivot point, I guess. So you're going to click here. And then our second click will be at the bottom. So that's telling SketchUp that's going to be my baseline. So that's my second click. And then I'm going to drag across until I get to 45. Now you can see down here, as I continue to drag, it's hard for it, it's met 45 there. So it's snapped to that exact number, which is good. But if not, remember you can just click anywhere and type in 45. Now that gives you a guideline, which is good at 45 degrees, but that's not an actual line, that's just like a guideline. So what you need to do now is pick up the pencil tool and actually draw that line in. As such. We can then pick up the eraser tool, highlight over our guideline, and get rid of the guideline. So I'm going to repeat that process over on the right hand side. So I'm going to pick up the protractor, start at the top, click once, and then the bottom, click again. I'm going to bring that up back to 45. So again, you can pick anywhere really and just type in 45. Guidelines at 45. Pick up the pencil tool and draw. So click at one end, click down to the other. It will snap to that grid. Draw the line in and then erase the guideline. Now, because we're working in 2D here, we can essentially erase our lines there that we don't need anymore. Okay, so we're left with our base shape that we need, which is excellent. All right, now we have to figure out, have a look at this here. This is 40 millimeters in the middle. So we'll worry about this one here first. What we want to be doing is figuring out if this is 40 millimeters in the middle and we have a total of 150 from one end to the other, what are we left with in this gap? So if we go 150, take away 40, we end up with 110. We have to divide 110 into this side and this side evenly. And that's going to give us 55 each side. Okay, so we're going to go from this edge into here. That will be 55 millimeters. So this is part of what we do, is we're going to have to read plans and figure out measurements. Not everything's always black and white here. You're going to have to figure some things out like that. So 55 mil from the end. So what we're going to do, pick up the tape measure. I'm going to measure from the left-hand side, click once, drag the tape measure across and type 55. That gives us a guide point there. And we're also going to do that. Click once on the right-hand side and drag it left 55. Now, you can double check this if you want. We may as well. If we go from that guide point to the next one, you can see down at the bottom right-hand corner that that's 40 mil. That's excellent. So instead of clicking on the end, just press the escape key, ESC. The escape key is used if you just want to deselect. You want to just not be on that selection. So we've done that. So what we're going to do is draw a line down from those two guide points. Pick up your pencil tool. From the top guide point there, going to click once, draw a line straight down, and we're going to do the same thing from the top here. So I'm going to click once, draw a line straight down. By default, I always go back to the mouse pointer. So click that, and that just means I'm not going to be making any mistakes. Now, that's what we want. Now, at the moment, I haven't used the orbit tool at all. I don't want to do that. I want to stay on this plane. So if you do, by accident, just go like this, and you want to get, or I want to get back onto that front plane as if we're drawing in 2D, because that's essential. Just click, go back up to the views and press front. Okay. So I want to be keeping that true, so right on that plane. Now, to save us having to draw all that information again, we're going to use the good old copy and paste. So you're going to get your mouse pointer, hold your mouse pointer down, select all of that, and we're going to press Command C and then Command V. And that's going to give us a whole nother piece in the space of 2 seconds, which saves us a lot of time, which is good. Okay, so the reason we haven't done any of this yet is because we can use those guidelines to cut out the top. I'll flick over here. One of them we've got to cut out the top. One of them we've got to cut out the bottom. All right. So, I actually probably could have done this midline, I just thought, but that's okay, we'll do it here. Pick up the pencil tool, and on your left one to start with, you'll be able to pick up a midpoint. So you're going to click on it, and then click to the other side, inside here. And as I said, you could have done this first and then copied and pasted that, but that's okay. We're going to do that to both. So SketchUp, being intuitive, will pick up the midpoint. So you just click on the midpoint to the other side and click again. And then for one side, you'll erase the top line. The other side, erase the bottom. And we have 2D versions of what we need. One being this one being that one. All right. Also erase these extra lines that we don't need. Here. Here. Now we've also got those guidelines, guide points. Okay, so if you simply just get the mouse pointer, highlight over each of those guide points. We don't need them anymore, they can go away. You just highlight over the corners and press delete. Alright, so essentially that's a good way to do SketchUp in just creating your face at the end, or the edge of that piece, and then we can simply push-pull both of these to the width we need. Now, again, how wide are the pieces? How do we get that information? Well, seeing this is a cross-halving joint, we have 40 millimeters in here, which means these pieces need to be 40 millimeters wide, so they slot in. So we've got that information. So what we're going to do is push-pull both these pieces, pick up the push-pull tool, select that end, press once, I'm going to push that back to anywhere and type 40. Enter. And then we're also going to do that on the right hand side. Push pull, click anywhere, type in 40, enter. Alright, now we've got the shapes we need, but we can't move these around because we haven't made them components yet. So if I attempt to move these around, pick up the move tool, it's going to make a mess. That's not going to do what we want. So I'm going to undo that. Now for each of these individually, I'm going to flick it around back to the front view. That's what we can see there. And then I'm going to select the one on the left, highlight that one, right click or 2-finger click on your trackpad, make it a component. You can call it something if you like. I tend not to worry. I'm just going to go create, press enter. Makes it a component that now we can move around as a finished product. So again, get your mouse pointer, click in open air, so to make sure that's deselected, and repeat that process. 2-finger click on the trackpad, make component, create. Now we have 2 components. Now we've got to put them together. Grab the other orbit tool, orbit around so you can kind of get a decent view of it like that. I'm going to get the move tool. Okay, so I think I might have explained it in previous videos, but just to not skip over things, when you pick up the move tool and you highlight over a component, you'll see it'll pick up these 4 plus signs like a north, south, east, west on that face. So we want to rotate this around. So if I come down, put that move tool over this plus sign, it turns into a rotate tool. Again, just SketchUp being a bit intuitive there. You can click on that end, and we're going to move that around 90 degrees. Click once it says -90 on the bottom, and that's facing the right way. Now when you move pieces together, if I want to move this over to here, it's really hard to do this and get it in the right spot. If I just click randomly, I just click randomly on this face then. What I generally do is think, well, which point on this piece do I want to meet which point on this piece? Okay, and I'm thinking this piece here, or this exact point, I want to marry up with this exact point. So that's what I'm going to select. I'm going to select that point at the top of that joint. And I'm going to click once so I can drag it over and then try and marry it up with that point. And SketchUp will tell you endpoint in component 1. If you click, it's married together. We have our piece drawn, which is good. So, last thing we want to do, so this is permanently together, we don't make it a component, because they're still two separate components. We're just going to highlight the whole lot. And we're going to 2-finger click and make group. And that's it. So now once we move this group, it's going to move together and it's permanently together. And that is how you draw the top part of the pedestal table.